What you doing, you other magical nerds? I'm the AC, and I'm going to talk about this latest musical episode of The Magicians. It is Season 5, Episode 12, The Balls. A name that hardly becomes relevant. Now, this video is probably going to be shorter than the rest because I didn't like this episode. I'm not even going to be like, oh, it was okay. It wasn't, I don't know. There was something about it I just did not like. And maybe it's because they keep marketing it as the last musical episode or the second from last of the series, and maybe I'm just judging it harder because I expect it to be like phenomenal, and it's supposed to build into the series finale that's supposed to be next week. I don't know, I didn't like it. The whole episode revolves around the heist to get the world seed from the couple who's at the Nave Hotel. Marina starts the episode off going through her old heist plan, and they're trying to make this new plan. She doubts that it can be done, but I don't know. It seemed like it was supposed to be a really cool episode. But before I get into the heist, there's one little part that also makes about no progress, and that is between Julie and Penny, who are not part of the heist at all, even though they seem like they could have helped, but probably not. I don't know. Julie and Penny are still worrying about her and the baby, and so Julia finds Penny's mom. Turns out she's not a nutcase. Penny tries talking to her. And she starts hearing voices again, which only happens when he's around. Julia talks to her, tries to tell her that they're magicians and they have magic, and that's what's going on. And Penny's mom doesn't care at all. She pretty much just runs away again. But they do discover there's like this magical umbilical cord that's still connected to Penny and his mom, Neela. And like that. The one cool thing is, if you look at it as like not a little plot hole, Penny's from a different timeline. But if you think of this magical umbilical cord as traversing time, I guess that's a cool thing to think of. Like a parent's bond to their kids, it's something that can't be broken. Or you can think of it as a literal magical umbilical cord that would need to be snipped. I don't know, but that's it. That's all that happens between them. Now going back to the heist. They have their plan. It doesn't seem very phenomenal. The couple seems like they are still more dangerous than they should be, but they're trying to figure out how they're going to communicate with each other. And then Zelda whips out a little conducting spell that's supposed to somehow make them be able to communicate with each other, but it was made by a conductor. And since the circumstances are going weird, they discover through song that if their emotions get too amped up, then they're going to break into song. Because Pigjamin Franklin, who I will always call that, even though I know that's not his name, Sir Effingham, that's not as cool. He shows up, he wants them to assassinate Julia, and if it was anybody else, I would probably be on board, but I don't like Pigjamin Franklin. So, whatever. He gives Josh a musket, they break out into the song, cool, to be kind, I don't know. It was actually surprisingly the best song of the episode, and that was disappointing because I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of a shaky song, but this is just the beginning. That's about as good as it got. They go and they're like, okay, the emotions are going to cause us to sing. That's not a good thing to have in a heist. So they whip out the emotion bottles again. That was cool. It was cool to see that all the way back from the first season. They bring it back and they bottle their emotions up. They're going through the heist. It's nothing special. They break up into teams. We've seen heist stuff before. Eventually bottles break or get drank. They realize the security guards that are golems are weak against them singing, so they all end up drinking to beat the golems. But like, the heist parts aren't even cool. They just have little cool moments. So Margot, Josh, and Finn get caught by Dean Fogg from the other timeline, and he stops them. The couple finds him. Finn realizes they're translating the page wrong because it's written in like old Valorian that she can actually translate. Surprise, okay. So they take her away to go deal with that. They reveal that they're wanting to create this new world because they have a lot of enemies and they're cursed because they can't have children. So in a new world they can get away from those enemies and have kids. Okay, I guess. They still seem like not great people, and Finn points it out. That's awesome. I like Finn's role in this episode, and that's about it. Eventually, they get the seed. Margot shoots the dude of the couple in the hand. The only other cool part is Alice writes a letter to Santa. He comes by, he picks him up, or let's assume he's going to pick him up, and then the episode cuts off there. And it's like, it was very lackluster to be the second from last episode. It was very lackluster to be a musical episode. Yeah, they're singing. Most of it's not great. Most of it isn't like what we've had in the past. And that just wasn't cutting it for me. It was a disappointing episode. They had some cool moments, like the emotion bottle. It's cool to see more Penny's backstory. I like Finn in this episode. But they have another last number, I Want to Be Sedated, which seems like it would be cool, but it just wasn't as, I don't know, maybe not as flashy, not as well put together. They, instead of doing these big numbers, or like one big number, or maybe a couple big numbers like they've done in the past, they just did little segments. Elliot and Alice had a little nice song together. I wasn't crazy about that either. It was a little too soft. It was supposed to be emotional, but I don't know. Overall, yeah, just lackluster. And just a little, I don't know, it seemed like a little lazy. Because there's a point Marina's babe, as she calls her, over and over again. She shows up to the apartment, and she breaks the baton, and if the baton breaks, it's supposed to mess up the spell. It doesn't really do anything. I don't know, I could keep poking holes in this episode. I study the episodes a lot before I'll try to say anything about them, but this one, I don't know. And Katie helps the others escape from the fog because she gives him a flask and it sends them to the etheric world. So maybe that will help the original, or our Dean Fog to get out of there. But I don't know. It's just like it's a weird episode that had a lot of cool little moments, but overall it wasn't great. I don't know. It's really disappointing for me to say anything negative about this show, but this episode, I don't know. I don't know if I can be completely positive, and it's a shame. The next episode, it needs to be a big one. It needs to be, man, it just needs to be great. I don't want this show to fizzle out in this last season. I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen this episode? Have you kept up with Magicians? Are you excited for the season finale? Was you excited by this episode but then disappointed? Let me know. Let's talk about it. But if you like what I say, like where I'm coming from, like this video. Show some support. And if you want to see me talk more about Magicians, even though this series is about over, I still have plenty more to say. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You can see when all that is. But until then, I'm DAC. Thank you for watching. Bye.